The Middle East has seen its latest diplomatic outreach, putting years of tensions to rest. But it wasn't between Israel and its Arab neighbors. Instead, it was between Saudi Arabia and Iran. The two regional rivals have agreed to restore ties after they were severed back in 2016. And like other dramatic shifts in the region over the past couple of years, one country's involvement was notably absent: the U.S. Instead, China led the way, hosting top Iranian and Saudi security officials in Beijing to broker the deal. Beijing, which maintains close economic ties to both Riyadh and Tehran, helped broker the agreement that will include the reopening of embassies in the coming months. Meanwhile, Türkiye, which has also seen its own rapprochement with the wider region, welcomed the news. The Turkish Foreign Ministry said the diplomatic breakthrough would contribute to regional peace and security. So has America been left out in the cold, and is the Middle East continuing its realignment without the influence of Washington? And for more on the rapprochement between Riyadh and Tehran, I'm joined by Tarık Oğuzlu. He is a professor at Istanbul Aydın University, and by Zahid Eyadat. He is the director of the Center for Strategic Studies at the University of Jordan. He joins me from Amman. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So, Zahid, talk to us about the importance of this rapprochement. I mean, has it come to you as a surprise?
Well, thank you for having me first. And no, it was not a full surprise. Well, surprise to happen in the place it happened. I mean, by under the Chinese auspices. But we know that the Saudis and Iranians have been engaging with each other in track 2 and back channels discussions for the last few years. Not only those led by Iran, by Oman and Iraq, but also by others. And Amman actually has hosted some of these meetings in Jordan, although they were not two officials, but between Iranians and Saudis, discussing ways out of the impasse between the two countries. Nevertheless, this is a very important and significant positive step in the region. So it is important. It's important for regional security, regional stability, and regional alignment and realignment. It's important for Saudi Arabia, of course, more than anyone else, because it speaks to its vision on how the Saudis is seeing the region in the years to come. A region that is stable, peaceful, prosperous, and based on cooperation. Saudis will win much of this agreement, although, as I said, it is, probably I did not say it, but I'll say it later. Well, I'll say it now. It's not a game changer, but it is absolutely important step and positive one, especially for the Saudis. Saudis winning out of that. The region wins out of that. Iran wins out of that. Of course, Chinese are a big, maybe the bigger winner. And Israel is maybe the least to win, if not the
we're going to
loser.
talk about the Israeli, the U.S. and European reactions. But Tarık, how significant is it to you that China brokered this deal between all-time rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran? And what does it say about its growing role in the region?
I think it is a kind of quite revolutionary development regarding the way Chinese foreign policy has been unfolding in recent years. As we all know that Chinese government has not taken any clear-cut position on any particular problem concerning the actors in the region, let alone global issues concerning to all of us, but even the problems in the Middle East. Rather than taking sides with one particular actor at the expense of another one, or rather than offering a very detailed and comprehensive solution proposals to any kind of conflict in the region, the Chinese state has been trying to do its best to get along well quite with many actors in the region, and in particular establishing trade-based relations with the actors in the region. This is one of the rare opportunities in the context of China's foreign policy that the Chinese government has done its best to bring these two rival countries in the Middle East closer to each other, and engineering a kind of maybe long-term oriented cooperation between Iran and Saudi Arabia. It is quite revolutionary. It is very quite revolutionary.
Okay.
Because we all know that the United States, in particular, has been losing some of its appeal in the eyes of the countries in the future. So this is a kind of opportunity taken by China to to demonstrate itself much more visible in global political issues.
So, Zaid, before China was viewed as a minor player who just bought oil and gas from those countries and the region, now it has stepped up its security cooperation with several other regional countries and is now playing the role of mediators. So, how will this impact the region if this trend continues? And what are the challenges before this trend, you think?
Well, look, I might have a total different views of this strategic involvement of China in the region. And contrary to what many might think, I don't think this is any strategic victory for China. It's symbolic victory, that's no sure about it, no doubt about it, but it is not of any strategic value. I mean, in terms of changing the rules of the games and the security arrangement. There have been a lot of discussions and debates to what extent the Saudis are moving away from their alliance with the Americans when it comes to strategic alliance and moving towards China first and then to lesser extent Russia. And I think the Saudis are not actually walking away. They're just diversifying to the extent they can and basically focusing on trade and economic ties and not on strategic. I'm going to remind you and your viewers that at the very end, all the oil chips from Iran and Saudi Arabia to China is actually protected by American security and their naval bases in the region.
Sure.
And that tells you the story. There is this is what I wanted to say. There is no game changer in this agreement. China, of course, this is a very good signal, especially for domestic politics and also for international leverage and prestigious status that they can actually broker. And I'll remind you again with your viewers, Americans in no positions to broker this kind of deal because of their relations with Iran. Of course, there is no relation, and they're not they're the best relations in terms of personal and political relation with the Saudis. And the Iraqi and the Omani started the whole negotiations and the whole track too. Americans are aware of it. China just paid the fruit of it by just hosting it and announced it in there.
So, Tarek, would you agree? I mean, Zaid says it's not that the Saudi Arabia is clearly moving away from the U.S. because of its dependence on its security, but has the region started to fix its problems on their own terms, or have the external powers changed?
On some particular issues, I am on the same page with the former speaker, but I would like to underline one particular point. The American position in the Middle East has been quite clear. Iran used to be the main enemy. Israel is the main security partner. And American priority is to make sure that Israel establishes much more strategic cooperative relations with Saudi Arabia and other members of the Gulf Cooperation Council in such a way to counterbalance the rise of Iran. But with this particular move, Saudi leadership has been giving a very important message. What is the message? We do no longer rely on American security commitment. And we don't have trust in American security commitment. We don't have trust to the degree of American security commitment to us. And we very much value the inclusion of China in regional political issues. So this is quite noticeable and this is quite revolutionary from this particular perspective. Mm-hmm. And at one time, close strategic ally of the United States in a very critically important region is asking the help of China, which is considered to be the main strategic rival of the United States, to get into picture and to bring Saudis and Iranis closer to each other. Mm-hmm. And this agreement has been achieved under Chinese auspices. So this is very quite revolutionary. I'm not suggesting that the Chinese has been offering very detailed solution package regarding each and every issue between Iran and Saudi, but the picture speaks for itself. What is the picture? Chinese foreign minister at the center of the meeting and holding the hands of Iranian and Saudi counterparts. Mm-hmm. And this is a message given to the United States.
So, Zaid, one country that was surprised by this rapprochement was Israel. Has this deal derailed Israel's plan to forge an anti-Iranian coalition?
Not necessarily so. But let me first, before I answer this, just react to my very esteemed colleague. I don't see any revolutionary things in the system at all, and I'm assuring you. I mean, and this is underlined and is It's recorded for future check on. The Gulf, the GCC, the Middle East, and the Americans' strategic allies is there to remain and to remain for too long. For so many reasons, maybe this is not the time to discuss them all. China certainly can try and been trying, but all the countries in the region understand and differentiate between strategic and economic relations. So you have a strategic partner, but also you have economic and a trade partner. China represents the second or the first for now and for the years to come. This is one. And second, Americans are not actually abandoning the region. And if there are some issues not too important in the region for the Americans, the Gulf, of course, and Iraq is of vital and critical to the Americans' interest in the region. Let me tell you more thing. The American new strategy as it is based on the de-escalation. Any de-escalation in the region is for American interest. So if there is less tension between the Iranians and the Saudis, this is good for Americans. If this helps, solving some regional conflicts like Yemen, maybe to a lesser extent Lebanon and Syria, and maybe in Iraq as well, this is absolutely,
Yes.
big achievement for Americans themselves. Now, let me get to Israel. Well, in order to understand what Israeli positions on that, we have to go back to the Abrahamic Accord, where the Israelis have envisioned that, with the Abrahamic Accord, you set a new arrangements, security and strategic for the region, and then countries will follow, or countries will actually form their own alliances to counter the Abrahamic Accord. They were hoping, and we know Netanyahu's speeches in the inauguration was all about Iran, and then regional cooperation, and regional cooperation was about Saudi in particular. And there is no doubt this might, shed some doubts whether the Saudis are going in the direction with Iran, with the Israelis. I think, again, it's the contrary. Maybe it is actually the Saudis are coming to the negotiations in a much better position. They are stronger. They're not fearing Iran. There is no things against Iran, and they have a kind of agreements and understanding with the Iranians.
Yes.
So they come to the Israelis. Okay, you want to sit on the table? Here's what we want.
So, Tariq, Riyadh, as Zaid briefly mentioned, has even acknowledged that this latest deal doesn't resolve or all of their problems. But will both countries be able to walk past those differences and to focus on their shared interests? And speaking of some shared interests, what are those?
I think the picture is quite clear. Neither Saudi Arabia nor Iran is quite happy to see that the extra-regional countries are determining the dynamics of regional politics. These two countries deem each other as the owner of the region, and they want to have a critical role in shaping the dynamics of regional politics on their own. So from this particular perspective, they share a very important interest in common. What is that? We should put the extra-regional countries to a safe distance, and we should take the initiative into our own hands to make sure that we have much more cooperative strategic relations in the regional environment. So in this particular sense, these two countries are on the same page. But we also know that Saudi Arabia and Iran are geopolitical rivals. Their approach to religion, their approach to political values, their approach to many other issues are different actually from each other. But at least they are of the fact that the world has been fast moving into a kind of multipolar international environment. And in this growing multipolarity, regional countries should have the upper hand in terms of determining the basics of regional politics. This is a very important interest they share in common.
Iran wants to become a part of that, so as Saudi Arabia. Even Egypt is wanting to become a member of BRICS. So how would that change the oil balance in the region?
Well, again, I'm not sure if this is is the pathway for the BRICS, or in the Saudis' calculation, BRICS is an important organization that they want to be in. They are already in the big, G20, and that these are the countries. Now, of course, Saudi Arabia will seek its interests, economic interests and trade interests, wherever they are, even if it's in BRICS. I'm not seeing this as like a main goal that the Saudis will be going there. But you said it correctly. It's all about oil and the trade and diversifications, the structure of the economy, and the international partners, international economic partners. So Iran add to that, no doubt about it. Stability will enable the Saudis to deliver to their goals. The revolution is happening in Saudi Arabia, and
Yes.
all what you're seeing is actually a manifestation of the Saudis, a new, certainly new strategies and a new vision of seeing themselves in the region and the region itself. Growing as a middle power, they might assume a decisive role in the region, not as a hegemon, but as a partner who can decide on things, including trade and oil and BRICS.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.